Hello and welcome back to NEET Prep Go. So today we'll be doing another chapter, Human Health and Disease. So without any further ado, let's get started. Health. Health for a long time was considered as a state of body and mind where there was a balance of humors. Okay, so this was given by Hippocrates and early Greek like Hippocrates as well as Indian Ayurveda system of medicine asserted. So what were the four humors? The four humors were black bile, yellow bile, mucus and phlegm. So, early Greeks like Hippocrates as well as Indian Ayurveda system of medicine asserted it was thought that people who had black bile they belonged to hot personality and they would have fever, and this idea was arrived by pure reflective thought. So basically it was said that people who had black bile they were aggressive, they were angry and they would have fever. uh, uh, but this idea was arrived by pure reflective thought. There was not any scientific proof behind it. So William Harvey he discovered blood, that is the discovery of blood by William Harvey using experimental method and demonstration of normal body temperature in persons with black bile using thermometer, disapproved the good humor hypothesis of health. So who disapproved the good humor hypothesis of health? That is William Harvey. By discovering blood circulation, that is the discovery of blood circulation, sorry not blood circulation using experimental method and demonstration of normal body temperature even when the person has black bile, in using the thermometer, disapproved the good humor hypothesis of health. In later years biology stated that mind influences through neural system and endocrine system, our immune system and that of our immune Wait. In later years, biology stated that mind influences through neural system and endocrine system, our immune system, and that so our mind through the neural system and through the endocrine system, that is your hormones and your neurons. Through this, our mind influences our immune system, and our immune system is the one that maintains our health. So basically we should that's why always it is said that be stress free, be happy, and don't be sad, don't take too much stress and pressure. Why? This is because your mind, basically through the neural system as well as your endocrine system, that is your hormones, hormonal changes, all of these things can bring about a significant change. Your mental state can bring a significant change to your body, your health. Hence mind and mental state can also can affect our health. Of course health is affected by genetic disorders, deficiencies which a child is either born with, or deficiency or defect which the child inherits from parents from birth. Okay, so basically the genetic disorders, that is if a person is inheriting that is his deficiencies or defects from his or her parents from birth, that is since then it is called as genetic disorders. For example, your cystic fibrosis, your Huntington's disease, then all these things, that is they are directly inherited from your parents. Color blindness, all those things, all the Mendelian disorders. Now infections, obviously a pathogen disease causing organism, it caused an infection. Flu, coronavirus, best example. Lifestyle including food and water that we take, rest and exercise we give to our bodies, habits that we have or lack. If you don't exercise then you'll become obese. If you become obese then your blood pressure will increase. Your blood pressure will increase, you will have hypertension. So habits that we have or lack, then lifestyle including food and water that we take, rest and exercise, we need proper 7 to 8 hours sleep plus proper food, healthy food, otherwise we'll have vitamin and calcium and all deficiency, protein deficiencies. Now the term health is very frequently used by everybody. How do we define health? Health is does not simply mean absence of a disease or physical fitness. That is, health is defined as a state of complete mental, physical and social well-being. Somewhere emotional would also be written. So complete, that is a state of complete physical, mental and social well-being is called as health. When people are healthy, then they are more efficient at work, and this increases their productivity, and therefore it brings economic prosperity. So when a person is healthy, then that person is more efficient and is more productive, and if productivity increases, then overall the economic prosperity will also increase. Health increases longevity of people and reduces infant and maternal mortality rate. So health basically decreases maternal and infant mortality rate, and it improves increases longevity of people. Balanced diet, personal hygiene, regular exercise, they are all very important to maintain a good health. Yoga has been practiced since time immemorial to achieve physical and mental health. Awareness about diseases and their effect on different bodily function, vaccination, that is immunization against infectious diseases, proper disposal of waste, control of vectors, that is which themselves do not get affected by the disease causing organism, but they spread diseases, and maintenance of hygiene in food and water resources are necessary for achieving good health. When the functioning of one or more organs or organ system of the body is adversely affected, characterized by appearance of various signs and symptoms, then we say that the person is not healthy, that is they have a disease. Okay, so when one or more organs or organ system of the body is adversely affected, not functioning properly, and it can be seen by or noticed by signs and symptoms, then we say that the person is not healthy, that is he or she has a disease. Diseases can be broadly. Now, what is the difference between sign and symptom? That is, sign can be seen or observed by person other than the one when the functioning of one or more organs or systems of the body is adversely affected, then it is characterized by appearance of various signs and symptoms. Sign can seen or observed by a person other than the one who has the disease or the patient, whereas symptom, it can only be felt by person suffering with the disease. Diseases can be broadly classified into infectious, non-infectious. Diseases which are easily transmitted from one person to another are called as infectious diseases. Infectious diseases are very common, and every one of us suffers from them at some time or the other. Some of the infectious diseases like AIDS are fatal. Among the non-infectious diseases, cancer is the main cause of death. Drug and alcohol abuse also affects our health adversely. So infectious diseases like AIDS is basically fatal, but some other non-infectious diseases such as cancer is the major cause of death. Drug and alcohol abuse also affects our health adversely. Common diseases in humans. A wide range of organisms belonging to bacteria, virus and fungi, protozoan, helminths, etc. can cause diseases in man. Such disease causing organisms are called as pathogens. So a wide range of organisms which belong to bacteria, virus, fungi, protozoan and helminths, that is your worms, roundworms, and all, Ascaris, Wuchereria and all, they can cause diseases in man, and such disease causing organisms are called as pathogens. Most parasites are therefore pathogens, and they cause harm to the host by living in or on them. So either they can live on them, for example your leech which attaches it, that is a parasite, ectoparasite we say. If living on, then we say ectoparasite. Living inside, such as your roundworm, filarial worm, that is endoparasite. Entamoeba histolytica, which causes amoebiasis, they live all inside. So the pathogen can enter our body by various means, multiply and interfere with your tapeworm which lives in intestine. It is an endoparasite. leech, blood-sucking leech, tick and all, they are ectoparasite. So most parasites are therefore pathogens as they cause harm to the host by living in them or on them, and the pathogens enter our body by various means. Then they multiply and interfere with our normal vital activities, resulting in morphological and functional damage. Pathogens have to adapt to life within the environment of the host, so therefore what do? That is, they have special mechanisms. So the pathogens that enter the gut must know a way to survive in the stomach at low pH, because the pH in stomach is 1.8, right? So the pathogen which enter the gut, they have to have a mechanism to survive in the stomach at very highly acidic or low pH, then and resisting the various digestive enzyme. A few representative members from different groups of pathogenic organisms are discussed here with the diseases caused by them. Preventive and control measures against the diseases in general are also briefly described. Firstly, Salmonella typhi. Salmonella typhi causes typhoid. It is a bacterium, pathogenic bacterium. It causes typhoid fever in human beings. These pathogens generally enter the small intestine through food and water contaminated with them, and then they migrate to other organs through blood. So Salmonella typhi is a pathogenic bacterium. Salmonella typhi causes typhoid fever. These pathogens, they generally enter the small intestine through contaminated food and water, and they migrate to other organs through the blood. Sustained high fever, 39 to 40 degrees Celsius is there. There is weakness. Then there is stomach pain, constipation, headache, loss of appetite are some of the common symptoms of this disease. So what are the common symptoms? That is, there is weakness, fatigue, loss of appetite, stomach pain, constipation, headache. Intestinal perforation and death happens in severe cases. So in severe cases, intestinal perforation and death can happen. Typhoid fever can be confirmed by Vidal test, which is a diagnostic test. Classic case in medicine is of Mary Mellon. Mary Mellon was called as Typhoid Mary. She was a cook by profession, and she was a typhoid carrier who continued to spread typhoid for several years through the foods that she prepared. Now bacteria like Streptococcus pneumoniae and Haemophilus influenzae, both of them, they are responsible to cause the disease pneumonia in humans, which infects the alveoli or air filled sacs of the lungs. So in pneumonia, the air filled sacs in our body, that is alveoli, they get covered with mucus, that is fluid. They get filled with fluid, and this leads to severe problems in respiration. The symptom of pneumonia includes fever, chill, cough and headache. In severe cases, the lips and fingertails may turn bluish and grey to bluish in color. Why? Because of lack of oxygen. A healthy person acquires the infection by that is by inhaling droplets or aerosols which are released by an infected person, or even by sharing glasses and utensils with an infected person. Dysentery, plague, diphtheria are some of the other bacterial diseases in man. So dysentery, plague and diphtheria, they are other bacterial diseases in man. Plague is caused by Yersinia pelvis, I think, that is, and passed by rat flea. And many viruses also cause diseases in human beings. That is, rhinoviruses represent one such group of viruses which causes the most infectious human ailment, which is common cold. Infects the nose and the respiratory passage, but not the lungs. So this is a upper respiratory tract infection. Upper respiratory tract infection. It does not affect the lungs. Common cold is characterized by nasal congestion and discharge, sore throat, cough, headache, tiredness, and it lasts for 3 to 7 days. Droplets resulting from cough or sneeze of an infected person are either inhaled directly. So both pneumonia and common cold, they both occur due to droplet infection. So directly transmitted through contaminated objects such as pen, book, cups, doorknobs, computer, keyboard, mouse, etc., and they can cause infection in a healthy person. Now some of the human diseases are caused by protozoans too. You might have heard about malaria. So a disease that man has been fighting since many years. Plasmodium is a tiny protozoan which is responsible for this disease. Plasmodium, you must have known, is a sporozoan rather. we had seen in biological classification. So different species of Plasmodium are there. There is Plasmodium vivax, Plasmodium malariae, and the most that is dangerous Plasmodium falciparum, also called as malignant malaria. In this case, death can also occur. Responsible for different types of malaria. Of these, malignant malaria is caused by Plasmodium falciparum. This is the most serious one and it can be fatal. Now let us take a glance at the life cycle of Plasmodium. So Plasmodium enters the human body as sporozoites, that is an infectious form, through the bite of an infected female Anopheles mosquito. So how does Plasmodium enter the body? It enters the body as sporozoites, okay, which is an infectious form, through the bite of an infected female Anopheles mosquito. Bite of an infected female Anopheles mosquito. So basically the male and non-pregnant female mosquitoes, they consume fruit or berries, whereas the female pregnant Anopheles mosquito, she requires a blood meal for her baby. So therefore the female Anopheles mosquito is the one that bites humans to draw blood. Out of these, those female mosquitoes in whose salivary gland that is in which Plasmodium is present, and Plasmodium is undergoing its sexual reproduction in the gut of those mosquitoes. In those mosquitoes, in the salivary gland of those mosquitoes, these sporozoites are present. So when that female pregnant Anopheles mosquito bites the human that is a human being, then the sporozoites are infectious form of Plasmodium, that is it through the bite of the infected female mosquito, it enters the human body. Now the parasites initially multiply within the liver cells. So first of all, they are covered with so first of all, that is we know coagulation happens very fast, right? Platelets and all is there. Then how does the mosquito drink blood? That is, it injects its saliva, and that contains an anticoagulant so that it can drink blood. And along with that, that is, these sporozoites are released if the mosquito is infected with Plasmodium, and these sporozoites are going to have a layer, mucosal layer, or a kind of a layer which makes them that is camouflages them from our WBC and phagocytes and lymphocytes, basically our immune system. So they through our blood, they directly that is go to the liver and they multiply within the liver cells. So first they multiply within the liver cells, that is hepatocytes. Then they tear those hepatocytes after maturing a bit, and this causes a lot of hepatocytes to get that is destroyed, and this causes an inflammation of the liver, and this is called as hepatomegaly. Then after this, those sporozoites then become merozoites, and they attack the RBCs, red blood cells or erythrocytes. So resulting in their rupture. The rupture of RBC releases a toxic substance, hemozoin, and this hemozoin is responsible for the high temperature or chill and high fever recurring every 3 to 4 days, which usually occurs in malaria patients. When female Anopheles mosquito bites an infected person, then these parasites enter the mosquito's body and undergo further development. So when a female Anopheles mosquito, it bites an infected person, then so if a female Anopheles mosquito bites an infected person, then these parasites, they enter the mosquito's body and undergo further development. So till here we saw what will happen if an infected mosquito bites a healthy human. Here now we are going to see a healthy female Anopheles mosquito bites an infected person and draws blood from that infected person, and in that blood, let's say the sporozoites, that is the parasites are there. Then what happens now? In the mosquito, that is in the mosquito, the parasites multiply within them to form sporozoites, which are stored in the salivary glands. When these mosquitoes bite a human, then these sporozoites are introduced into his or her body, thereby initiating the events mentioned above again. So it is interesting to note that malarial parasite has requires two hosts. So Plasmodium, notorious Plasmodium, it requires two hosts, That is firstly the human and secondly the mosquito. Therefore, it is also to complete its life cycle. So, therefore, it is also called as digenetic. Now, the female Anopheles mosquito is the vector or the transmitting agent too. Let's see over here. So, firstly, a mosquito came, okay, and this mosquito has sporozoites in its salivary gland, and then it bit this person. After biting this person, the sporozoites were released. Now these sporozoites went to the liver through blood, and they were not recognized by the immune system, any WBC, lymphocyte, leukocyte, anything, and that is somehow they went to the liver. They were shielded by vesicle or something like that. It's very higher, don't need to. So now these sporozoites reach the liver through blood, then they reproduce in asexually. So in humans asexual reproduction takes place, in human host asexual reproduction takes place, whereas in mosquito sexual reproduction takes place. Okay, so they reproduce asexually in liver cells, and then they burst the cells and then get released into the blood. So here are the sporozoites. They enter the hepatocytes, that is the liver cells, then they asexually reproduce and then they burst. So bursting lot of hepatocytes together, then hepatomegaly takes place. Then parasites reproduce asexually in red blood cells. After that they enter, that is over here I think they are called as merozoites. They enter the RBCs, that is, and they then start reproducing asexually, and then they burst the RBCs too, and causing cycles of fever. That is because RBCs, when the RBCs they get that is rupture of RBCs, that is when the RBCs they burst, then they release hemozoin. Hemozoin. Then released parasites infect new red blood cells. So now sexual stages, that is gametocytes develop in red blood cells. Now when a good mosquito, that is healthy mosquito, it injects and draws blood of an infected human being, then it takes up gametocytes with blood meal. So now these gametocytes which were formed in some RBCs, that is it has been taken by the female mosquito, and now fertilization and development takes place in the mosquito's gut. Then mature infective stage sporozoid escape from the gut and migrate to mosquito's salivary gland, and then when the mosquito bites another healthy human being, then the sporozoids are injected with the bite. Now we come to another protozoan disease. Entamoeba histolica is a protozoan parasite in the large intestine of human, and it causes amoebiasis or amoebic dysentery. Symptoms is constipation, abdominal pain, cramps, stools with excess mucus, and blood clot. So abdominal pain, cramp, constipation, and stools with excess mucus and blood clots. Houseflies act as mechanical carriers and serve to transmit the parasite from feces of infected person to food and food products, thereby they contaminating them. Drinking water and food contaminated by fecal matter is the main source of amoebiasis. So why is amoebiasis caused? That is the main cause of amoebiasis is contaminated food and water. Which has been contaminated by fecal matter, which already had this amoeba histolica. Okay, so Ascaris. Ascaris is the common roundworm Wuchereria, also called as the filarial worm, are some of the helminths which are known to be pathogenic to man. So Ascaris, also called as the common roundworm, also called as the filarial worm, It causes as also, and a form of this that is which causes अच्छा Wuchereria or filarial worm is sorry. Basically, helminthic disease is of two types, that is Ascariasis and Elephantiasis, also called as filariasis. So, here we are going to first Ascaris is the common roundworm and Wuchereria is the filarial worm. They are some of the helminths which are known to be pathogenic to man. So, firstly, let's see Ascaris. Ascariasis and Elephantiasis or filariasis. So, firstly, Ascaris is the roundworm. It is an intestinal parasite which causes Ascariasis. Symptoms is internal bleeding, muscular pain, fever, anemia, blockage of intestinal passage. Eggs of the parasite are excreted along with the feces of infected person which contaminate soil, water, plants. Healthy person acquires this through contaminated water, vegetables, fruits, etc. Now filariasis, also called as elephantiasis, that is Wuchereria bancrofti or Wuchereria malai, is a filarial worm which causes a slowly developing chronic inflammation of the organs in which they live for many years. So Wuchereria bancrofti, Wuchereria malai, they are both filarial worms and they cause a slowly developing chronic inflammation of organs in which they live for many years, usually the lymphatic vessels of the lower limbs, and the disease is called as elephantiasis or filariasis. The genital organs are also affected, resulting in gross deformities. The pathogen are transmitted to a healthy person through the bite of female mosquito vectors. Many fungi belonging to the genera Microsporum, Trichophyton, and Epidermophyton are responsible for ringworms. So, Microsporum, Trichophytum, and Epidermophytum, they are responsible for ringworm, which is one of the most common infectious diseases in man. Appearance of dry, scaly lesions on various parts of the body, such as skin and nails and scalp, is the main symptom of this disease. These lesions are accompanied by intense itching. Heat and moisture help these fungi to grow, which makes them thrive in skin folds, such as those in the groin or between the toes. Ringworms are generally acquired from soil by using towels or clothes or even comb of infected individuals. So now, how to stop from or prevent getting infectious diseases, that is you should maintain always personal hygiene and public hygiene. Why? Because many of these diseases, as you just saw, they are that is formed by contaminated water and food. So maintenance of personal and public hygiene is very important for prevention and control of many infectious diseases. Measures for personal hygiene include keeping the body clean, consumption of clean drinking water, food, vegetable, fruits. Public hygiene includes proper disposal of waste and excreta, periodic cleaning and disinfection of water reservoir, pools, cesspool and tank, and observing standard practices of hygiene in public catering. These measures are particularly essential where the infectious agents are transmitted through food and water, such as typhoid, amoebiasis, ascariasis. In cases of airborne diseases such as common cold, pneumonia, in addition to those, close contact with infected person and or their belongings should be avoided. For diseases such as malaria and filariasis, which are transmitted through insect vectors, most important is to control or eliminate the vector and their breeding places. That is, wherever you find stagnant water, you should remove it. So stagnant water should not be there. Then around residents, regular cleaning of household coolers, use of mosquito net, introducing fishes like Gambusia in pond which feeds on mosquito larvae. So there is a fish called as Gambusia, and this Gambusia, it feeds on it is present in ponds and it feeds on mosquito larvae. Spraying of insecticides in ditches, drainage areas and swamps. In addition, doors and windows should be provided with wire mesh to prevent the entry of mosquitoes. Such precautions have become more important, especially in the light of recent widespread incidences of the vector-borne Aedes mosquito diseases such as dengue and chikungunya in many parts of India. So, the advancements made in biological science have armed us to effectively deal with many infectious diseases. The use of vaccines and immunization programs have enabled us to completely eradicate deadly diseases such as smallpox. Large number of other infectious diseases such as polio, diphtheria, pneumonia, tetanus have also been controlled to a large extent by the use of vaccine, DPT vaccine, then tetanus and all those. Discovery of antibiotic and various other drugs also enabled us to effectively treat infectious diseases. Now we come to immunity. So every day we are exposed to large number of infectious diseases. However, only a few of these results in a disease. Why? Because we have immunity. Body is able to defend itself from most of the foreign agent. This overall ability of the host to fight the disease-causing organism conferred by the immune system is called as immunity. So this overall ability of the host to fight the disease-causing organism conferred by the immune system is called as immunity. There are two types of immunity: innate immunity, the immunity which we were born with or we already had, and acquired immunity, which we acquire later on as we grow. So innate immunity is a non-specific type of defense which is present at the time of birth. So innate immunity is firstly non-specific type of defense, and it is basically present at the time of birth. It is accompanied by providing different types of barriers to the entry of foreign agents into our body. Innate immunity consists of 4 types of barriers. Firstly, physical barriers, then physiological barrier, then cellular barrier, and lastly cytokine barrier. So firstly, let's see physical barrier. Physical barrier, skin is our main barrier which prevents the entry of microorganism. Then your mucous coating of the epithelium in your nose, that is lining of the respiratory, gastrointestinal and urogenital tract, also helps in trapping microbes which enter our body. Okay, so skin. So physical barriers is firstly skin, second is mucus. Skin in our body prevents the entry of microorganism, and mucus coating of the epithelium lining of our respiratory, gastrointestinal and urogenital tract helps in trapping the microbes which enter our body. Then physiological barrier, that is acid in stomach, saliva in mouth, and tears from eyes, they all prevent microbial growth. So our tears, they have antimicrobial property. The acid in our stomach, pH 1.8, obviously microbes won't survive, that is very less wood. Then saliva in the mouth, it also has lysozyme, which is again has antimicrobial activity. So physiological, that is physiological barriers. Physiological barriers will be acid, saliva, tears. Then cellular barriers. Cellular barriers, then certain types of leukocyte of our body are called as polymorphonuclear leukocytes, PMNL, neutrophil, and monocytes and natural killer, which are a type of lymphocytes in the body, as well as macrophages in the tissue, can phagocytose and destroy the microbes. So now what are cellular barriers? That is, cellular barriers are nothing but cells in our body. For example, certain types of leukocyte, that is WBC of our body, like polymorphonuclear leukocyte, PMNL, neutrophils and monocytes, and natural killer type of lymphocyte in the blood, as well as macrophages in the tissues, they can phagocytose and destroy the microbes. Then lastly, cytokine barriers. Cytokine barriers are virus infected cells. So the virus infected cells, they basically secrete proteins which are called as interferons, and these interferons, they protect the non-infected cell from further viral infection. This is a very good mechanism. So basically what happens is, if a virus infects a cell, then that cell knows ki khud to gaya hai, so it needs to now think about all the other cells. So he that is he will sacrifice, but he doesn't want everyone to take that is, he doesn't want to take everyone down with him. So therefore, a virus infected cell, a cell which has already been infected with the virus, that cell, it basically secretes proteins which are called as interferons, and these proteins protect the non-infected cells from further viral infection. That is, they go and they basically inform the immune system, these interferons and these proteins, and basically the other cells, they already that is, they develop such as a blueprint kind of, and they are able to fight against the pathogen, and hence they don't get infected, or not that badly infected like the first cell which secreted the proteins in the first place. Now, acquired immunity. Acquired immunity is pathogen specific, and it is characterized by memory. This means when our body encounters a pathogen for the first time, it produces a response which is called as primary response, which is of low intensity. So basically first time a pathogen that is attacks our body, then our body doesn't know it before, so therefore it takes time. So that is the first response to a pathogen by our body is called as the primary response. And till now, that is the pathogen, that is our body doesn't know the pathogen, so our body takes time to first know and understand the pathogen, then develop mechanism, and then fight, and then finally win. So this primary response is of low intensity. Subsequent encounter with the same pathogen elicits a highly intensified secondary or anamnestic response. Secondary or anamnestic. So now the second time the pathogen is attacking, then so much is not needed, because now the immune system already knows how to fight with the pathogen, like what are the weaknesses, how exactly. So this is ascribed to the fact that our body appears to have memory of the first encounter. So if the body did not have memory of the first encounter, then second time it would not have been that is easily, it would not have defeated the pathogen. So acquired immunity is pathogen specific. Innate immunity is not pathogen specific. It is something that we had since birth. That is something that we have innately in ourselves. Non-specific type of defense. That is innate immunity. Whereas acquired immunity, on the other hand, that is it is pathogen specific, and it is characterized by memory. That is, when a body encounters the pathogen for the first time, then primary response is generated, and this primary response is of very low intensity. And it takes time for the body to fight with the pathogen, whereas a second time subsequent encounter with the same pathogen, when it takes place, then it elicits a very highly intensified secondary or anamnestic response, and this is ascribed to the fact that our body has memory, that is, appears to have memory of the first encounter. So this is acquired immunity. Primary and secondary immune responses are carried out with the help of two special types of lymphocytes which are present in our body. Firstly, B lymphocyte, secondly T lymphocyte. So what is B lymphocyte? B lymphocyte produce an army of proteins in response to pathogens into our blood to fight with them. These proteins are called as antibodies. So basically the function of B lymphocyte is to produce antibodies, army of proteins which basically enable our body to fight with the pathogen. So they are that is a function of B lymphocyte. The T cells, they do not themselves secrete antibodies, but they help B cells to produce them. So the T lymphocytes, they themselves don't start producing antibodies, but they help the B lymphocytes to produce antibodies. Now this is the structure of an antibody. So what does each structure have? Each antibody has 4 peptide chains. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can see 4 peptide chains. There are 2 small chains called as light chains. So this is the first small chain. This is the second small chain. These two small chains are called as light chains, and then these two are longer chains. So these two are called as heavy chains. Hence an antibody is represented as H2L2, that is 2 heavy chains and 2 light chains, H2L2. So these two are the longer heavy chains, these two are the lighter that is light chains, smaller light chains, so H2L2. Then different types of antibodies are produced in our body, such as IgA, IgM, IgE, IgG. A cartoon of an antibody is given in the figure. Because these antibodies are found in blood, the response is also called as humoral immune response. Okay, so now see, this is light chain, heavy chain, then again light chain, H2L2. 4 total chains are there, 4 peptide chains made up of protein, 4 peptide chains. Now we had learned that between 2 proteins there is a peptide bond, but between 2 polypeptides, that is 2 peptide chain, there is sulfur bond, that is sulfide bond. So see, here you can see sulfur bond, here you can see, and these are the 2 antigen binding sites. So one antigen binding site is between one heavy and one light chain, and here is the second antigen binding site, and sulfur bonds are present. Two sulfur bonds are present between A, and the rest are between themselves only, and over here one between light and heavy, here one, so total 2, between one light and one heavy only 1, and then over here between the 2 heavy chains, this is 1, this is 2. So here you can write between light and heavy chain Between light and heavy chain there are one each, and between heavy and heavy there is two bond of sulfur. Then because these antibodies are found in blood, so where are these antibodies found? These antibodies are found in blood, therefore the response is called as humoral immune response. This is the one of the two types of our acquired immune response, that is antibody mediated. The second type of cell mediated immune response or cell mediated immunity, CMI, the T lymphocyte mediate the cell mediated immune response, CMI. Okay, so because these antibodies, that is IgA, IgG, IgM, IgE, because they are all present in the blood and they are produced by B lymphocyte, this response, that is antibody producing, this is called as humoral immune response. This is one of the two types of acquired immune response. Antibody mediated. Humoral immune response is antibody mediated. The second type of response is cell mediated immune response or cell mediated immunity, CMI, and this is mediated by T lymphocytes. Very often when some human organs like heart, eye, liver, kidney fail to function, then satisfactorily transplantation is the only remedy to enable the patient to live a normal life. Then the search begins. Why don't we just take it from anyone? Doctors check for grafts from any source. An animal, another primate, or any human being cannot be made since grafts will be rejected sooner or later. Tissue matching, blood group matching are essential before undertaking any grafts or implant, and even after this, the patient has to take immunosuppressants throughout their life. The body is able to differentiate between self or non-self because of cell-mediated immune response. Yeah. So let's quickly revise once, then we'll go ahead. Hippocrates, that is Greek philosopher, he gave the theory of 4 humors, that is black bile, yellow bile, phlegm and mucus, that is the balance between, and he called this the good humor hypothesis, that is the balance between all the 4 humors resulted in a healthy individual, and imbalance or any one humor, that is agar upar niche ho gaya, so then that person will be having a disease or there will be a problem with the person. William Harvey came and he said that the black bile, if the black bile was very high, then the person would be angry, aggressive and would be hot tempered, and that person would have very high fever. But William Harvey, he came fourth, and he after the he discovered that is blood circulation, discovery of blood circulation by William Harvey using experimental method, and then he demonstrated that people who had normal body temperature had that is higher amount of black bile, and therefore he disregarded this good humor hypothesis or whatever, that is this theory. And then later years, biology stated that the mind influences firstly our neural system as well as our endocrine system, and therefore our mind through our neural system and our endocrine system, it ultimately influences our immune system, and our immune system is responsible to keep us healthy or maintains our health. So therefore, if mind and mental state are not good, then we will not be healthy, therefore their state can affect our health. Then of course in other that is health is usually affected by firstly genetic disorders, that is if we have inherited deficiencies or defects from our parents, then from birth we'll be having them. Then infection that we get from pathogen, disease causing organism. Then lifestyle, that is proper exercise, proper food, proper water, then adequate rest, all of this, and exercise, all of this is required. If we don't get it enough, then that will again lead to diseases. Then term health, it is used to, that is, it is said that that is physical, mental and emotional well-being, basically complete a state of complete physical, mental and emotional well-being is termed as health. And if one organ or organ system is not functioning properly, then we call that person to have a disease, and we can know that person has a disease or is not healthy by the appearance of various signs and symptoms. Then there are two diseases: non-infectious, that is not able to infect, then infectious diseases. Among contagious diseases or infectious diseases, that is AIDS is fatal, whereas non-contagious, that is highest that is, what can you say, number of deaths or fatality or major cause of death is cancer, and day by day it is increasing. Drug and alcohol abuse also affects our health adversely. Common diseases in humans, that is, it is caused by bacteria, virus, fungi, helminth, that is your worm, and protozoan. Then such disease causing organisms are called as pathogens. They are mostly parasites. They live either inside the body or on the body, and endoparasite, ectoparasite, and they multiply in the host, and they use host machinery. Then they slowly result in that is malfunctioning. It results in the malfunctioning of the host's body mechanisms, and they interfere with the normal vital activities, and they result in morphological and functional damage. So they also have a lot of machinery mechanisms which we had learned in animal kingdom, that is your tapeworm and all. It loses its own digestive system and everything, and hooks and suckers and all, uh, that is they have, so that they can attach basically, and all those organ systems and organs which they do not need, then they lose them. They have to have, so here it's written that our stomach has very highly acidic pH, that is low pH, so therefore that host should be able to resist such acidic environments. Okay, firstly, bacterial diseases, typhoid is given. Salmonella typhi causes it. It is caused by basically food and water contamination. Sustained high fever is there, headache is there, abdominal pain is there, then loss of appetite, fatigue and all is there. In severe cases, if not treated, then intestinal perforation and death may occur. Then typhoid fever can be confirmed by the diagnostic test which is called as Vidal test. Then when we talk about typhoid, then we always remember Marie Mellon. Who was Marie Mellon? She was also named as called as Typhoid Mary. Why? Because she herself was a typhoid carrier, and she used to cook food for a lot of people, and for many years she through her food infected a lot of people with typhoid, and a lot of people died. Now the second disease is pneumonia, which is caused by Streptococcus pneumonia and Haemophilus influenza, and they basically infect the alveoli, that is air-filled sacs of the lungs, and they cause our alveoli to get filled with fluid, and hence this causes a trouble in breathing. So basically there is breathlessness, and we are not exchange of gases doesn't take place because of the alveoli getting filled with fluid. And in severe cases, your fingernails and lips, they turn that is gray to bluish in color because of lack of oxygen. Now pneumonia is caused by droplet infection. That is, if a person who is suffering from pneumonia, that is sneezes or coughs, and those droplets or aerosols released by that person, they are inhaled by a healthy person, then the healthy person will also get pneumonia. Now now we come to viral diseases. And yeah, pneumonia can also occur by sharing the glasses and utensils with an infected person. So now we come to viral diseases. Viral diseases, rhinovirus causes common cold. Common cold is an upper respiratory tract infection. It does not affect the lungs. In that we can have headache, sore throat, that is fatigue, hoarseness, cough, nasal congestion and discharge, tiredness, and it usually lasts for 3 to 7 days. Droplets resulting from cough or sneeze. Basically, again, it's a viral infection, but again, common cold also caused by rhinovirus. It again is caused by droplet infection, and it can pass from one person to another directly, or by the inanimate objects also which contain the droplets, such as your book, pen, cup, doorknob, etc. Now, some of the human diseases caused by protozoans, that is firstly malaria. Malaria is caused by Plasmodium. There are Plasmodium vivax, falciparum, then malariae. Now, falciparum is the also called as malignant malaria, and it can be fatal too. Then Plasmodium, what happens basically, that is there is a healthy human being, and there is a infected female Anopheles mosquito. She bites, and the healthy human being, and the sporozoites are released. That is a form of Plasmodium, infectious form, and these sporozoites, they go straight to the liver, and they are not recognized by our immune system. Then in the liver, they enter the hepatocytes or the liver cells. From there they undergo asexual reproduction, and then they tear the hepatocytes, and they come out, and then asexual reproduction takes place inside. So basically, after they mature in the hepatic cells, then after they burst and they come out, then those hepatocytes, that is due to so many hepatocytes getting destroyed, the liver swells up, and it is called as hepatomegaly. Now those merozoites, they enter the RBCs, and then they undergo asexual reproduction. After that, they burst the RBCs too, and as the RBCs burst, then the RBCs release a chemical which is known as hemozoin, which is basically spikes the temperature, leads to headache and very high temperature every 3 to 4 days, and chills also. Then after that is these after bursting the RBCs, they enter to other RBCs, and basically they form undergo asexual reproduction, and they form gametocytes. Then these then if a healthy female Anopheles mosquito which is not infected by Plasmodium bites an infected human which is already having malaria, then during the blood meal she will take these Plasmodium, that is with her, that is these gametocytes, which go to the gut of the female Anopheles mosquito, and sexual reproduction takes place. That is fertilization and development, everything takes place in the mosquito's gut, and then these sporozoites, that is mature infective stages, they escape from the gut and migrate to the salivary gland, and then this mosquito goes and bites another healthy human being, and again the cycle continues. So basically, from this we learned that Plasmodium requires two hosts. Therefore, it is a digenetic life cycle. To complete its life cycle, it requires a human host and a mosquito. Entamoeba histolytica, that is in the large intestine, protozoan parasite. It causes amoebiasis or amoebic dysentery. That is symptoms is constipation, abdominal pain, cramps, stool, excess mucus, and blood clot. Houseflies are the mechanical carriers. That is, they sit on the feces of an infected person, and then they sit on the food and beverages of a healthy person, and then as the person consumes it, contaminated food and water, then that person gets amoebiasis. That is the main reason, main source of infection. That is food contaminated by fecal matter. Now ascaris. So now we come to helminthic diseases. That is ascaris, also called as roundworm. It uh, results in the disease which is called as ascariasis, and then the second helminth which causes diseases. Wuchereria bancrofti or Wuchereria malai, which is also called as the filarial worm, which causes elephantiasis or filariasis. Then symptoms of this disease include, so firstly ascariasis. Ascariasis is an intestinal parasite. Symptoms of this disease include internal bleeding, that is constipation, internal bleeding, muscular pain, fever, anemia, and blockage of intestinal passage. And the eggs of this parasite are excreted along with feces of infected person and thus contaminate the water, soil, and plants. And healthy person can acquire these through contaminated water, vegetables, and fruits. Now, Wuchereria malai, and Wuchereria bancrofti, it is the filarial worm. That is, it causes a slowly developing chronic inflammation of the organs, and in which it lives for many years, usually in the lymphatic vessels of lower limbs. And then the disease is called as elephantiasis or filariasis. The genital organs are also affected, resulting in gross deformities. The pathogen are transmitted to a healthy person through the bite of female mosquito vectors. Elephantiasis, filariasis, gross deformities take place. Now fungal diseases, that is trichoderma, then the trichophyton, microsporum, not trichoderma, microsporum, trichophytum, and epidermophyton. Microsporum, trichophyton, and epidermophyton. They are responsible for ringworms, which are scaly patches which appear, dry scaly lesions on various parts of the body, skin, nails, scalp. Main symptom of this disease is that appearance, and then these lesions are accompanied by a lot of itching, intense itching. Heat and moisture help the fungi to grow and thrive. Therefore, they can be found in the folds of groin or in between your two toes. Then they are generally acquired by soil or by using towel or clothes or even comb of infected individual. Personal hygiene is important. Contaminated food and water should not be consumed. Always do not let water be stagnant and all those things. Now gambusia is a fish which in ponds it feeds on mosquito larvae. Immunity, two kinds of immunity is the overall ability of the host to fight disease-causing organism, and it is conferred by the immune system. Is called as conferred by the immune system is called as immunity. There are two kinds of immunity: innate immunity and acquired immunity. Innate immunity, which we have since birth, that is non-specific type of defense. There are four kinds of innate immunity, that is barrier, physical barrier, physiological barrier, cytokine barrier, and cellular barrier. Firstly, physical barrier is your skin. That is, it is the main barrier, largest, prevents the entry of microorganism. Then secondly comes mucus coating of the epithelium lining the respiratory, gastrointestinal, and urogenital tract. It helps in trapping the microbes entering our bodies. So physical barrier, first is your skin, second is your mucus which lines respiratory, gastrointestinal, urogenital. Okay. Then second is your physiological barrier. Physiological barrier, that is the tears in your eyes, the saliva in your mouth, and the acid in your stomach. Then cellular barrier, that is your WBC, that is PMNL, that is polymorphonuclear leukocyte, and your monocyte and natural killer cells, as well as macrophages, which cause phagocytosis and destroy microbes. In cytokine barriers, interferon, that is virus infected cell, they secrete proteins which are called as interferons, which protect the non-infected cell from further viral infection. Now acquired immunity, specific type of immunity characterized by memory. This means when our body encounters a pathogen for the first time, it produces a response which is called as the primary response, which is of low intensity, and it takes time for the body to fight the pathogen. But on second encounter, that is a very stronger secondary or anamnestic, highly intensified secondary or anamnestic response takes place. So maybe it can happen that in the first time the pathogen infected you, you had symptoms, you got fever or something like that, whereas the second time when the pathogen infected you, then you did not even notice, or maybe the last time it took you 5 days to recover, whereas this time in 1 day or two you completely recovered and you did not feel that much intensity of symptoms either. So therefore this helps us realize that our immune system has memory of the first encounter. So the primary and secondary immune responses are carried out with the help of two special type of lymphocyte, that is your B lymphocyte and T lymphocyte. B lymphocyte is responsible for your humoral immune response, that is B lymphocyte, they produce an army of proteins in response to the pathogen into our blood. That is, in response to the pathogen, the B lymphocyte, they release an army of proteins which fight with the pathogen in our blood, and these proteins are called as antibodies. Now the T lymphocyte do not themselves produce antibodies, but they help the B lymphocyte in producing antibodies. Each antibody molecule has 4 peptide chains. There are 2 shorter or lighter chains which are called as light chains, and 2 longer chains which are called as heavy chains. Therefore an antibody is called as H2L2, that is 2 heavy chains and 2 light chains. Then there are sulfide bonds between the 2 polypeptides, that is one sulfide bond each is present between one light and one heavy chain. So basically in total on the all 4 chain there is between a light and a heavy chain 2 sulfide bonds will be present, one on this side, one on that side. Then between the 2 heavy chains only 2 sulfide bonds are present. So total in an antibody structure H2L2 4 sulfide bonds are present between the chains. In itself, that is the light chain in itself has 2 sulfide bonds in between itself, in the chain itself, and the heavy chain have 1, 2, 3, 4 bonds in its own. So in H2L2 we can, and 2 binding sites, antigen binding sites. So we can say that two that is between 2 heavy chains we have 2 sulfide bonds, between one light chain and one heavy chain we have 1 sulfide bond. So in total we have 2 sulfide bonds. Each light chain has 2 sulfide bonds between itself, that is in itself, and here also in itself. So in light chain 4 total in itself sulfide bonds, and in each heavy chain has also 4 in 1, so therefore 8. So total 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 bonds in itself all the 4 chains have, that is 2 each in light chain and 4 each in heavy chain, and that is between 2 heavy chain 2 sulfide bonds, and between 2 light chains 1, 1. So 4 between the chains, 4 between the chains, 12 in the chain. So total 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 chains. Okay. So that is, these antibodies are different type: IgA, IgG, IgE, IgM. Then because these antibodies are found in the blood, the response is called as humoral immune response. It is one of the 2 types of acquired immune response. What is the second type? So this humoral immune response is also called as antibody mediated. Then second type is the cell mediated immunity, or cell mediated immune response, also called as cell mediated immunity, CMI, and the T lymphocyte mediate the CMI. Very often when some humans, such as that is some organs in a human, what is wrong with me, when some human organs such as heart, eye, liver, kidney, they all fail to function, then we need to get an organ transplant in order to live a normal life, healthy life. So we can't just take it from anybody, because graft from just any source, an animal or another primate or any human being, cannot be made, since the graft would be rejected sooner or later. Tissue matching, blood group matching are essential before undertaking any graft or transplant, or even after this the patient has to take immunosuppressants all his or her life. So graft from just any source, an animal or another primate or any human being, cannot be made, since the graft would be rejected sooner or later. Therefore tissue matching, blood group matching is responsible or essential, is essential before undertaking any graft or transplant. And even after this the patient has to take immunosuppressants for their entire life. So the body is able to differentiate between self and non-self, and why? This is due to the cell mediated immune response. For graft rejection, your cell-mediated immune response is basically responsible. Now, active and passive immunity. When a host is exposed to antigens, which may be in the form of living or dead microbes or other protein, then antibodies are produced in the host body. This type of immunity is called as active immunity. When a host is exposed to antigens, which may be in the form of living or dead microbes or other protein, then antibodies are produced in the host body, and this is called as active immunity. Active immunity is slow and it takes time to give full effective response. Injecting microbes deliberately during immunization or infectious organs gaining access into our body during natural infection, they are basically examples of active immunity. Ready-made antibodies given directly to the person to protect the body against foreign agent is called as passive immunity. So mother's milk is basically yellow fluid colostrum, has IgA antibody, and it is a form of passive immunity during the initial days of lactation to protect the infant. The fetus also receives some antibodies from their mother through placenta during pregnancy, and these are the examples of passive immunity. Active and passive immunity. What is active immunity? When the host is exposed to antigens, which may be in the form of living or dead microbes or other proteins, antibodies are produced in the host body, and this is called as active immunity. Active immunity is slow, it takes time, whereas passive immunity, directly antibodies are given. Antibodies don't need to be formed in the body anymore. Passive immunity example is your colostrum, that is yellow fluid, mother's milk, and it has IgA antibodies. Fetus also receives some antibodies from their mother through the placenta during pregnancy. Vaccination and immunization. Principle of immunization or vaccination is based on the property of memory of the immune system. A preparation of antigenic proteins of pathogen or inactivated or weakened pathogen or vaccine are introduced into the body. Antibodies produced in the body against these antigens would neutralize the pathogenic agents during actual infection. We still have a very long chapter. Won't be able to finish it right now. Okay, we'll directly continue from vaccination immunization. Thank you.